ATB's The Hurling Pod.
With Board Gosh Energy,
proud sponsors of the Senior Hurling Championship.
Welcome along. It is a live hurling pod off the back of the semi-finals this weekend. The empire has crumbled. It's been taken down by Cork. Limerick's reign as All-Ireland champions is over. We are set for a repeat now of 2013 with Clare and Cork into the All-Ireland hurling final on July the 21st. Cork derailing Limerick's bid for 5 in a row with a 2-point win in front of what was a record crowd for Croke Park for a semi-final this afternoon. A complete and utter sellout. Brian Hayes with 1-4 for the Rebels, who after they went ahead with half an hour to go in the game, never let go of that lead again. They delivered the knockout blow to the reigning Munster and All-Ireland champions, which admittedly I don't think many of us saw coming into this weekend. While Clare put 2 years of pain against Kilkenny behind them on Saturday, winning the last 25 minutes by 12 points to 4 to get just their second ever championship victory against the Cats. A big show of resilience and defiance from last year's league winners, who scored the last 6 points of the game and are now into their first final since they saw off Cork after the replay 11 years ago. That was the start of the Shane O'Donnell era that day. And he said to us on Off the Ball earlier this year, one thing he wanted for 2024, win another All-Ireland. He's going to have a chance in 3 weeks' time. Lads, James Skehill, Paul Murphy, after an exhilarating day of hurling, how are we, Paul?
Yeah, exhausted. It was unbelievable. Unbelievable. I mean, the atmosphere there today went back and forth. And like you just thought, half-time, you know, Limerick up by 2. Could Cork come back and could they sustain it? Like, and everything we've seen from Limerick over the last few years, you just say no. Like, it just has a point to no, and that's not being unreasonable. It's just pointing to history. But how Cork battled back, like, I mean, I really came away from today going, that was one of the greatest performances I've ever seen. And it's you know, part of me was I was looking at Limerick then going, you know, I feel their disappointment. I feel it, but like, Jesus, what a performance from Cork. And it needed that. You know, it needed that performance that we'd probably maybe knew they were capable of to an extent. They had the skill, they had the talent, but could they actually deliver it? And like the atmosphere, again, just go back to Limerick and Cork fans, unbelievable. It was just a great day.
James Skehill, I'll ask you how you are first. How are you getting on?
Fabulous. How are you?
I'm going to ask you about the third quarter first of all. There's no messing about this week because there's so much to chat about. I'm going to dig right into it. Yeah, exactly. So Fintan O'Toole from the 42 put up a killer stat earlier on. We always call the third quarter Limerick's moving quarter, their quarter, where they generally beat teams. And I kind of thought up until really, even when Cork hit the first 2 points of the second half, I thought Limerick are just going to get going. They'll take this lead back, and they never did. Cork took 10 shots in that third quarter of the game and scored 10 of them.
They did, yeah.
That's remarkable, isn't it?
It's unreal. Like their energy is something to behold today. Now, in fairness, like we've talked about Limerick in the past about how they come out with such ferocity that's nearly impossible for teams to match for the whole 70 minutes, and it's the other way around today. Like I remember we said, I don't know, I can't remember what game it was after, but I said I don't trust Cork, you know, and like because I said I didn't trust them because they never backed it up, and the way they played today was just, it was so enjoyable to watch as a neutral. So energetic. Like I was at home clapping in the sitting room by myself because what the spectacle they put on was simply amazing. Yeah. And it was relentless. And yes, look, people can point to Limerick had opportunities at the end to draw the game, bring it extra time, but Cork, the game ebbed and flowed, and they were deserving winners. This wasn't a smash grab. No way. This wasn't Limerick coming back to take their rightful place in the final. This was Cork taking what was theirs, and you could see it from the off. It was absolutely fabulous, I have to say. And as a hurling person, I think that game has brought the championship alive, albeit it's a late stage, you know. But like for what we witnessed today, guys, kudos to both sets of players. I know everyone will give the gratitude to Cork for what they produced, but Limerick as well, just fantastic.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. I mean, look, again, you can see the comments which are coming in on the YouTube if you want to get them in. You know, Cork's ability, their pace is being praised here, the youth that they have, where they can potentially build on this. They still, of course, have an All-Ireland final to go and potentially win against Clare. But the other question is an important one before we start, which comes to Paul Murphy here from Gary Farrell. Did Murphy do a Skehill? I.e., did he go flying through many different roads and through a toll plaza? No, he did not. The good people at the BBC have put you up, Murph, haven't they?
Yeah. So I'm still in Dublin. Actually, it's good people of Virgin Media. Will I'm branching across here. I'm doing Ireland AM in the morning. So I'm.
You are not.
I am. What's wrong with that?
Jeez, man, that's August, September, October, and November mortgage paid.
You're a bad man.
What are you going to do for Christmas? Surely the final is for Christmas anyway.
Oh, jeez,
Christmas and the road show.
I'll do ear to the ground or something at Christmas or nationwide.
Unbelievable. So the BBC put them up on Saturday, and then Virgin Media put them up on Sunday.
We're after having two great games, and you're taking like I suppose, problems with the fact that I'm staying in Dublin tonight. My God.
No.
For
I'm
free.
glad
Yeah,
that you're
quite
available for the pod. The most important thing is that you're actually here. And I'm just lining up the comments here in the background.
It actually works out
Before
a
I
lot
do
better.
that, look at Murph meeting his people earlier today. There you go.
Yeah, I had as you can see, I had
Mahoney.
my chicken fillet roll, a hurling pod chicken fillet roll in my left hand. At the spar at the back of the Cusick stand, Neil McManus is behind me shaking hands with young fellas. I had a coffee in my right hand, which I didn't want to spill. And your man saw his opportunity and went, I think they were saying he's home from Australia for 3 weeks. He actually came home. Now, I'm not saying anything, but he said, I'm home for the final. So he said, Limerick man now. And he put that around my head. He said, can we take a photo? I just said, go on, take it there. So I didn't put it on my own volition. It was, I was ambushed, but they were in great form. And something I will say, to be fair, before the game, Limerick people were cautious. I met a good few, myself and Neil walked to just the shop and met a few Limerick people, and they were cautious. You know, I think they really respected what Cork could potentially come, but the atmosphere around the stadium today as well, before the game, unbelievable.
The other question on the rolls, and we'll get into the questions then. What was actually on your roll?
I kept it simple enough. There was a big queue. It was cheese, mayonnaise, and a chicken fillet. I kept it kind of Skehill-esque.
You've come over to the sane side. You were on the insane side.
There was a big queue behind me, and I said, if I throw coleslaw into this equation here now, the whole thing could fall apart. So I was like, listen, let's just keep it simple, up the middle, black cup of coffee, walk out the door. It was mayhem. Spar, and 82,000 people around Crow Park. You can imagine it was mayhem. So kept it simple and took a picture preempting Will asking what price was it. $5.25, Will? Good value.
Pretty good. I paid $7.60 for one on Friday night on the way out of the city. So you did well to get out with that extra couple of euro in your pocket compared to me. Right, Skehill, let's get into it, because as much as we can talk about the scores, as much as we can talk about what Cork did, Patrick Collins is a massive hero here today with the saves that he made. First of all, talk to me, before we talk about the one in the second half, his bravery in the first half to just go out and put the body in the line to make sure that goal doesn't happen. Because I think if Limerick get a goal at the point he makes that incredible block, potentially that shifts the momentum quite a bit. What a save.
Yeah, they were rolling and Gillane was rolling. Cork at that point, you have to understand, were they had thrown a couple of punches towards Limerick. Limerick had taken them, given them back and got into the lead. So it was kind of that situation whereby Collins just had to go, fuck it. I just have to go and do this. You know what I mean? And he just threw himself at the ball. And obviously, it was just a fabulous save. But you make your own luck as far as I'm concerned when you're a keeper. If he stands in the goal there and invites Gillane to take the shot, it's 3 points and Limerick are up further. But he rushes them, bull rushes them out, closes them down. Then he gets up and gets back. And I know the ball was called back, but then saved it again. You know what I mean? So the pick me up he'd get off that phase of play for himself as a person, as a keeper. You know what I mean? Having had his own challenges throughout the year, and as a team as well for keeping them out. Because I said below on the roadshow, you might remember, about the Cork defence. They have to nearly take offence to people trying to go in on goals, and they defended fierce well today, I have to say. I know Gillane was excellent, and it was a tough day for them in that situation. But other than that, let's say I thought the Cork defence were fabulous, and they were headed by Collins. He was questioned on his distribution, on his choice of distribution, on some of his shot stopping and handling, and he answered all three today. And I know the man of the match went to Hayes, and rightfully so, but Collins was definitely in the show for that too.
Yeah, his second half save then, Skehill, the double save. Again, critical moment in the match where Limerick are sniffing a goal. And we talked about Quaid's heroics back in 2018. Another huge moment in the match from there. Same
goal, and if that ball goes in, 3 points to Limerick, obviously. And for a player like Hegarty who shot that one, and I think Hegarty, by his own standards, had a poor game today, but he still got himself on the end of that shot. And for that to get saved, cleared, turned around, and then a point from Dodge from distance it wasn't a 3 point swing around. It was a 5, 6, 7. It carried that kind of momentum with the game, and that was kind of a not today moment, if that makes sense. Not today, where they defied Limerick going for the goal, got up the pitch, and took their own score. And it was an excellent turnaround. And again, I go back to it as a neutral. Awesome. And I'd say Murph there, the energy that must have, that crowd must have provided on Dalton's score after the save must have been huge.
It was unbelievable. And the thing was after the save, and I didn't look back to see who was the Cork defender going back. Was it Kieran Joyce, I think, so went back. We don't know, did he get a hook or did he get a flick or something? But as soon as he came out, in the first half, I put it this way, Diarmaid Byrne's got a ball, he went running up and got a great score. Neil McManus said to me, he's going to score this. It just had the vibe, it had the energy that this is going over the bar when Diarmaid Byrne's ran up. When they saved that goal and they turned around, Declan Dalton came running out from left half forward with the hand up, basically, give me the ball. But what you can't see on the telly is that he curled it in over the bar. We were right behind it, but he just curled it the whole way in. As soon as he struck it, the Cork crowd underneath us just rose up. It was over the bar the whole way, but as soon as he hit that, I went, geez, there's something about this team here today. Like, I mean, that bit of defence, but I'll agree with you as well, Skehill. That Patrick Collins, like, there's going to be a lot said about, Brian Hayes, Dara Fitzgibbon was outstanding as well today. The keepers over the weekend, like, I mean, Eibhear Quilligan, Clare have a lot, and I know we'll get to Clare, but Clare have a lot to thank for Eibhear Quilligan. Only for him in the first half, they may not have the platform to go and win that game. Owen Murphy's save, unbelievable. I mean, Nicky Quaid's puckouts, he was doing his best for the lads. Patrick Collins, in the first half there, the save off Gillan. And I know they blew a free afterwards then for, I don't know, was it a throw or something? But he got back and he blocked Seamus Flanagan's one as well with his body. So he didn't know it was going to be a free, and he got back and he blocked it. Yeah. I just thought it was outstanding. And like, I'd agree with you as well. Got his own bit of flack, and I'd include Pat Ryan in that as well. Got his own bit of flack through the year. And like, today, he gets to walk away from Croke Park going, Jesus, I was absolutely immense. And only for me, at the same time, Cork wouldn't have won that game today. Cork were immense, but unless they had him between the sticks, they weren't winning it, Yeah. And it's
a big thing as well, I think as well, Murph, like, when you're looking at the distance he puts in his puck out, particularly in the second half, right? You can't play the way Cork play unless you've got a keeper with that distance. And not every keeper in the country has that.
Yeah.
So that ball, now I wasn't there, so I don't know, was there a win condition to play with, right? But in the first half, they were fairly bombing too. But in the second half, they were landing, let's say, around the 20, 25, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it just caused utter pandemonium, because what happened is the Limerick half-back line had to turn around and go back towards their own goal. Yeah. Because the Cork forward line, from what I could see, were drawn out. Yeah. As soon as the ball went over their heads, they were coming at pace like mad, and it just caused chaos. Just caused chaos. Yeah. And look, there's an element of chancy. An element of nearly guesswork. Do you know what I mean? Taking it on, but it pays off. Fortune favours the brave, and that's what they did. They just went for it. Whereas teams sometimes go against it, especially if you land on top of the Limerick half back line. It's trouble when you go out over them and have them go back their own way and engage the Limerick full back line with forwards coming against them. You can see what happens. Yeah.
To Liz's point there, would you put Collins up for man of the match? I think he has to be in the conversation, right?
Yeah, I think for me, if I was to pick, I'd nearly go with 4, because Aaron Gillan was outstanding from play. I think he got 7 points from play today. Just going to check the programme here. But I'd have himself, Patrick Collins, Dara Fitzgibbon was outstanding, and Brian Hayes. Like, when a man goes 1-4, Brian Hayes, marking, any one of those three in that full back line, any variation of that, outstanding. But he kept running at Limerick as well. But for me, those 4 lads, and it's no shade in anyone else, but like, Gillan deserves a mention. He still kept firing for them. But yeah, just and like, you know what? It's a fair testament to Cork that you, like, if you were picking man of the match, 3 of them out of my 4 would be Cork, and that kind of, I suppose, typifies exactly how they performed today.
Joanne makes a fair point here about Limerick's wides coming up against them. So we had 99 shots across the 2 teams across the game. And again, it was an absolute score fest this afternoon, which I don't think anyone minds.
I had 102.
Yeah. You had 102. I thought it was on 99 at the end.
Drop shorts. I've dropped shorts as well. I've shot shorts,
over 100 shots then taken during the game.
Oh, fuck.
Just insane. Yeah. Over whatever it was, 75.
Has that ever happened before, Will?
I can't remember a game going to 100 before inside normal time.
After half time, we came back out and we sat down, and I went to eat a ham sandwich, and I missed 6 scores marking them on me up because I was eating a ham sandwich. That's how many scores were going over, because I said, I'm going to scoff this down now. And in the time it took me to eat a ham sandwich, 6 scores had gone over. And I was like, I turned to my man and said, you start marking them, because I'm going to lose track of this now.
How big are the sandwiches?
Regular size ham sandwich. And I know we're getting onto a second sandwich talk here now, but no, the point was that we were just going, this is absolutely breathless stuff. And like, I just think yesterday, great. It was really exciting and so on. But the standard of today was just unbelievable. It was flawless, like, at times. I know that you can say there's mistakes here and there. That's going to happen. But Jesus Christ, the players were absolutely immense today.
Yeah. And credit has to go to the ref too, in fairness, because he allowed a pace of game today that most refs actually wouldn't. He contributed to kind of, I suppose, the spectacle, because as soon as the ball went dead, it was back in play again, and he let it off. Yeah. And everyone couldn't catch their breath. Commentators, spectators, players. I can't imagine what it was like to be on that pitch, lads.
It was a tough game to ref, I'd say, because like, literally, like, both crowds were down his neck. Not in a bad way, but of course you're going to be fighting for calls. There was hard hitting, there was hand passes and stuff. I can't fault him really for any of the calls. I thought he got the tackling really right. Like, Cork they matched Limerick in many ways in terms of the intensity that Limerick do in their tackling. And another referee might be inclined to say blow free because it's the easier thing to do, but he recognized that it was good tackling, and he recognized when I thought he did well with the hand passes. I know there's people going to give out about it, but from the one replay I saw of the Brian Hayes one, the one that was disallowed, I thought it was a throw. Now, it could be wrong. I'm open to questioning there. I don't know what you thought, but it looked like the one replay I saw, it was a throw. And I just thought, if he's right in that, and if it was correct and people agree with that, that was a huge call to make under big pressure. Like, the easy thing to do is let that on, goal scored, you're praised for letting the game flow on, you're praised for a high scoring game, but he was like, that's a throw, I'm blowing it, I'm calling it back. So I just think, again, another fella who might fall between the cracks in terms of getting credit, thought he had a great game today.
Yeah, we sometimes wonder, Skehill. We did say earlier in the year that throw balls will generally be allowed to go when it comes to All-Ireland semi-final weekend. And we had an incredibly clear one, which was called wrong yesterday by Liam Gordon. But I think most of us on first viewing probably thought that was a throw. It was only on the replay we saw it.
I did too.
To the linesman to see that one.
Yeah.
But the one today from Connolly to Hayes, because Hayes puts the ball in the net, could have been his second goal. What was your take on it? Did it look like a throw to you in real time?
Yeah, see, when you're watching it on television, it looked like a throw to me. But bear in mind, my vantage point versus the referee is far different. And I think for we can call fouls on tackling and certain incidents that say that they've seen right in front of them. But I think we have to give them a small bit of slack on the hand pass. I know it's a very, very popular topic online. Particularly the throw is very, very, very popular. But we're looking at it in a slow mo, and we're looking at probably 5 millimeters, maximum 10 millimeters of separation between the hand and the ball. And then we're taking the moral high ground, saying he should have called it free or should have let it off. I can't. Like, even the one yesterday, I think it was Owen Cody on the ground. I think it was that did the backhand pass. Am I right in saying?
Owen Cody. I think it was Mossy Keoghan.
It was Mossy Keoghan, sorry. But that to me in real time looked like a free.
It was actually a perfect hand pass.
But in a slow-mo, zoomed in on top of him, okay, it wasn't a free. So I think, look, we can criticize the referees about different elements, and at times rightfully so. But in this instance, I think cut them a bit of slack.
Paul Tierney's point, which is funny, because I actually meant to grab the video of this. A few people had caught. I don't know if you saw this one or if you saw it on the BBC, Murph, where Horgan went off with the blood injury for the cut that was just up here. Yeah. And the physio did the classic thing where he wiped it slightly, then he spat on the rag that he was using, and was like an Irish mother getting someone ready for Christmas Mass, and then gave another rub after he spat in it. And didn't stop the bleeding. He still had to go off for a few more minutes, but it was one of the most bizarre things I've ever seen.
The one with Patrick Horgan as well, which we were kind of scratching our heads about, was the one where he was taken off just as they got a free. Mark Coleman took it in the end. Declan Dalton was off, and they took Patrick Horgan off as they had the free. But it was like, let's just let him take the free and then take him off. Like, so Mark Coleman actually dropped the free then into Mickey Quaid. He dropped it short. But I was just surprised that they took him off at the time and said, listen, maybe hold it there till the next break, which the next break is going to be when he either puts it over the bar or puts it wide. But like, I just thought that was an interesting one. Look here, thing of nothing, but at a time of the game where every score was at a premium, like, I was kind of thinking, Jesus, leave him on for let him hit this one, considering Dalton's off the field,
Fair point. There's a good few questions coming in about what happens with Limerick from here. Limerick are finished, etc., etc.
Come on.
The one thing I would say is, they're definitely not finished. They've got plenty in them yet.
Press the restart button next year. That's exactly what it is.
This is their first defeat in Croke Park in 5 years. Is that correct? You know what I mean? Back since your time, Murph.
Yeah.
Everybody just take a breath. Let's say, obviously, there's an appreciation of what they've delivered to us, again, as neutrals, and even on the back end defeats against them over the last number of years. But they're certainly not finished. Like, they went down fighting today. And yes, there was a bit of wayward shooting at the end that could have brought extra time. Alas, it didn't happen. However, this team's not finished. Like, because look at the two lads that came in today, Adam English and Shane O'Brien. Did they get 2 points each, Mark?
They did. Adam English got 2 and Shane O'Brien got 2.
Yeah. So at difficult moments, I say, in big moments of the game. So it's not as if they don't have people to come in, and still they're missing people. So I think to say they're finished now is a bit. If the age profile of the team was early 30s, I'd say something, But in all essence, it's not. So just enjoy Cork's victory today. But Limerick are going to move on just like any other team and come back next year strong.
It's the obvious question to ask both of you, and Murph, you can take it first. Why did Limerick not take over the game in the way that they normally would today? Because they had a narrow lead at halftime. Even when Cork had that good spell early in the second half, usually Limerick have had the answers in the last 5 years when it came to those situations. What was different about today?
They weren't really let, I don't think. It was really just a defiant display from the Cork backs. And when Cork got the bit of momentum, they actually kept it up. Like, they kept their foot on the neck of Limerick. And something that was noticeable for me, and maybe didn't come across on the television, but when you were there in the stadium today, particularly when you're down behind one of the goals and you could look up the field, Cork defence turned over the ball really well. But when they turned it over, the lads came shooting out, particularly Declan Dalton, but lads came shooting out from wing forward, nearly as far as half back. And that's the question of Limerick, will he step up on us or not? They didn't step up. Declan Dalton then was shooting from range, popping balls over, or they were spraying into the full forward line. Balls went into the full forward line there, like Brian Hayes was catching balls or he was winning balls out in front. Hoggy came into the game then as well. Alan Connolly was in the game. They all actually just won their positions. It's such a hard thing to do. You could overcomplicate it and say it was other things, but players just really dominated their positions. Limerick fought back and Cork just didn't wilt. Like, I think of one really defined play at the end. Niall O'Leary comes out with a ball. Like, the Cork backs were cramping, and like you could just you look down into the corner when the camera was probably up the other end of the field. Owen Downey was down, Sean O'Donoghue was stretching out the calves. Ball comes down, and Niall O'Leary goes driving out, blocks it forward, rises it, gets it into the hand, takes a foul then from Gearóid Hegarty, and that took 30-40 seconds away out of the game. But it was a message, they just weren't giving up. And for me, it was just the tackling was absolutely immense. Their intensity for the whole game, even if Limerick got on top, and Limerick did get on top at times, they just stayed at it. They didn't vary from it. They didn't panic. They didn't start striking mad balls. And they were playing each play as it went. Like, if you look at the line ball that was there in the last minute, I thought back to 2013 when they were playing Clare and they went for the sideline. I was going, don't go for the sideline. Now, granted, it didn't work out for them. They poked it up the line. I think Dan Morrissey won it and it was a free out. But nevertheless, they didn't just strike a needless ball into Limerick hands in at the full back line that they could bring it up the far side. They said, right, well, let's work the clock here. Let's drag it into the area with the bodies. They poked it in. They went fighting for it. But you could just see they were playing every play with savage intensity. And for me, it was just the guts. It was the heart. You can break it down into tactics. I haven't seen Kyle Hayes as quiet in a long time. You put that down to Declan Dalton. He had a great game. I have him down for 4 points there as well. Shane Barrett for 2 points. Seamus Harnedy, 4 points. He started really well, drifted out of it a small bit, and then exploded back into it in the second half. So, look, there's just so many places you could look at this team and go, they were just immense. And I just really, full credit to Cork. We've been critical of them at times, and I think justifiably. They've been flaky at times. It was one of the greatest performances I've ever seen. And it was the old Cork. It reminded me of back in the 2000s there, 2004, 5, this real rebel Cork. It was unbelievable.
Skehill, what do you reckon?
There's a few things. I think Murphy's dead right about the tactical perspective. I think if you take Limerick on 15-on-15 in a static position, they're going to beat you. But what Cork did for me, anyway, again, I'm going by the television, Murph, so you feel free to correct me here, please. But Dalton dropped off very deep.
He did, yeah.
He was a great outball for Cork. Cork were clever then when they come out with the ball. They did not put it in over Dalton's head into his vacated space. You know what I mean? So they couldn't occupy Kyle Hayes. So Kyle Hayes had a terrible decision to make: do I push up or do I pull back? And then there was twice in the first half where he did push up, and they put the ball in over his head. Then, so I thought they played a very good heads-up game. So they looked what was in front of them. Right. The second thing then is I thought Barrett and Harnedy moved very well laterally across the pitch. They moved laterally kind of in a pair together and allowed Fitzgibbon to hop into a space up around the middle. So if I'm watching them out, what it looked like to me was Dalton was coming deep, Harnedy might go in behind Hayes, then Barrett would go to the far side, the next thing Fitzgibbon was in the middle in loads of space. Yeah. Around the midfield, right? And then inside, then what happened was Connolly and Hayes, the ability to win primary possession, it cannot be understated. So the ball goes in there, the likes of Hayes can go up and get it, Connolly can hold it like the big old forwards of old. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it allows time for the Cork forwards to get in and offer support. Yeah. If the ball breaks down the full forward line, it's very easy for Limerick to work it out because the Cork forwards where they're positioned is out the pitch. You know what I mean? Yeah. But when they're able to hold it, allow the support to get to you, scores. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I just think the forward unit as a whole, their movement, their tactical approach in terms of the space that they occupied and how they held the ball was massive to Cork's success. And then you add in just the downright doggedness. That's the only word I can think of really for the Cork backs today. Doggedness. Rob Downey's snaring a couple of balls, big high balls, and need to come out with them. You know what I mean? Yeah. Owen Downey had a great catch in the second half there as well. Yeah. When Cork kind of started getting ahead, ball landed down, big catch underneath the Hogan stand down near the canal end. And the likes of 6 catches, Murph. Was it? Yeah. 2 Downeys. Between the 2 Downeys, the 6 catches. That's fair tipping. That's fair tipping. Rob had 2 huge ones in the second half. At times that, you could say that it was turning against them a small bit, but I think they're. And come here, credit. I know we're talking about players, and rightfully so, but credit has to go to Pat Ryan and his management team for the way they set up Cork. And yes, and they were a puck of the ball being out of the championship, and for them to restructure themselves. And the reason we thought, and me personally, I thought Cork were in trouble potentially was because of the way they played. For periods against Offaly and periods against Dublin, whereby they were coming in out of games, kind of lethargic, nearly half-hearted efforts. And I was concerned that if they go with that approach, they'd be killed. But they came today with as the lad says, fire in the belly and ice in the mind. It was just absolutely brilliant, So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing them again.
I do enjoy that we've got some South African rugby fans who have seen an off-the-ball live YouTube start, and I presume they've assumed that we're talking about the first test in Pretoria. We've got someone going Razzie, and
Pronounce that name, Will there? Who's that lad? Pronounce that name.
I've not a hope on that.
Sifakazi Zenzili.
That's probably as close as you're going to get. Sifakazi, best of luck. I saw Bocky going up along the way as well. We're not here to discuss the first test. I didn't see much of it because we were watching hurling yesterday.
You can stay tuned if they want, though, if they're doing nothing else.
By all means, stay around. But when I saw it, I thought, well, where is this going? There's quite a few, other ones that I had taken in earlier. I see someone has said, what does Skehill have to do to get on TV? That has definitely come up here at some point.
Oh, not for me.
Not for you. Why not?
No,
is
not for
podcast
me.
a better
No,
format?
look, I'm black or white. I sometimes can't control myself in the manner that Murph can. I won't lie about it. Like Murph, you can be very polished on television.
You are television gold. So you're on TV already. You're on
but then I had to come off it because I just couldn't be myself. Like, you know what I mean? I just couldn't. I couldn't say what I wanted to say. You know what I mean? And if I can't do that, then, fuck it.
Yeah.
Annoying Strawberry could well be a Wexford fan. Not quite sure. But you see, what happens then is you get people down here, and there was 200,000 views on Skell's little mini rant about Davy Fitz last week. And there are people doing their absolute best to try and wind him up. And the minute I saw the article on The Independent it was either Thursday or Friday, which was Davy Fitz being lined up for a Galway job, you'd be getting these, like from Ben Graham. Skehill is praying for Davy now to be Galway's next manager. And then you've got Paul Tierney on a very similar note. Davy Fitzgerald to Galway is happening. #Skehill will lose it. See, these are people who want you to get angry, Skehill.
Not at all. Our county board chairman came out there and says they're going searching from within. That's what I like to hear. There's plenty of options from within. So let's just go with that narrative now, and let's move the David Fitz talk to one side. He's past news. So thank you and goodbye.
Okay, I'll ask you about Henry Shefflin after we finish chatting about the game.
Excuse me.
A lot of people have pointed out that this is one of those days where the Limerick half-back line probably didn't get going, Murph, in the way that they usually do as well. We and Kyle Hayes were talking about him being a potential hurler of the year. Cork occupied that half-back line very well, didn't they?
They did, yeah. I suppose they just really recognised that if they were to undo Limerick in any great way, they were going to have to somehow go at this half-back line. How do you do that? It's a very tough job, but, look across that forward line there, Declan Dalton, Shane Barrett, and Seamus Harnedy. Like, there's savage pace there, in fairness. And we spoke about it already. Declan Dalton dropped out. He dropped out a nice distance and was kind of asking questions there. Is Kyle Hayes going to follow me? But similarly enough, he went across and he got a few points on the left side. I was asking, would Diarmaid Burns now come follow me? But there were, when those questions are being asked, and at times, Limerick were actually caught at 6s and 7s. And again, this is something you probably couldn't see on the telly. But we're so used to seeing Limerick go forward at the ball, flood forward, get a score, and we don't see them turned over as much. And if you're able to turn them over, you'll find that quite a few of their players are now out of position because they're supporting the ball as it's moving up the field. But Cork managed to turn it over really well and instinctively said, where is the space here? Where can I find someone? And it was Declan Dalton, it was Seamus Harnedy. It was even, we saw Dara Fitzgibbon getting a point there, maybe around the 65th minute, where he just ran up the line and there was acres of space, nearly similar to Garrod Hegarty against Clare in the first round, where they just lost their runners. They didn't know where they were. Limerick didn't know where they were. And Cork exploited that. And it was, I think part of it as well is just pure attrition. Like, they just kept going, that eventually, as fit as you are, the legs are going to start wilting a small bit and you're trying to cover that ground and it's just so hard to cover it. But you look at the return as well, like, it wasn't just a case that they were going and trying to run them around Crow Park.
11 points they got, yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, great scoring there altogether. And like Seamus Harnedy, again, 4 points from play, an immense performance for him. And you saw him coming off the field and he was up to the Cork crowd, pumping the arms and everything. Like, and the crowd reacted to him. The crowd gave him a standing ovation coming off. They recognised the effort that man put in.
What do you think?
I'd say Harnedy is surely 33. Is he 34? I think.
He must be every bit of it, is he?
He must, yeah.
Would that be on Wikipedia? You keep talking, Murph. I'll check.
I'll check. You keep talking. I'll check.
But no, like, the energy they brought there. And then when you look at it, that I think Pat Ryan just left it as it was, because I was kind of going, geez, you're not going to bring in Shane Kingston here. I was expecting Shane Kingston around the 50th, 55th minute and just pure energy till the end. But
do you think there's a great appreciation for people? I always find, when I listen to Roy Keane talking, that he says if you get players, whether professional or amateur, who just absolutely give everything they have, people will react to it and appreciate it. So when you put Seamus, I think Seamus Harnedy fits the bill in that bracket for Cork, even when things were going bad. That's why people love him.
Yeah, Yeah,
You know?
he's put in a lot of years there where, like, he's been there's times there where Cork weren't going as well, and he was going well, and then there was other times that I think the Cork crowd would give him his dues, that when Cork maybe started picking up their standards, he had good days and he had bad days, but he's been always honest, like, he's always been there and thereabouts, always honest, putting in a good shift, and like, he's there a long time now. He's one of those lads like Patrick Horgan. He's been there a long time, and another fella, probably goes unsung. We're talking about Patrick Horgan potentially finishing with an All-Ireland medal. We said it maybe 2-3 months ago that he's one of the lads that you say should be finishing. Seamus Harndy's in that category as well in terms of service to Cork and service to hurling in general. To finish potentially with an All-Ireland medal would be incredible for him.
Yeah. Harndy will be 34 on the 17th of July, by the way.
Okay.
So All-Ireland
big month for him.
34. There you go. It could be a very nice Sunday in the end of that birthday week as well. This is a good question coming in from Will Norris, which I want you both to tackle. Wondering about Lynch at midfield. Best ball winning forward I've seen. Was he centre forward part of the second half, lads? We've talked about Lynch's form a little bit, Skehill. I don't know, where's the best place to deploy him? Whether you want to get him out into those deeper positions, or would you prefer him to be the link man in the half forward line? Where's the best place to get the most out of him?
I would have thought centre forward would be in his best position, because he can cover theoretically more areas of the pitch, especially in the forward line. But what it looked like today was that he was getting the ball in very congested areas. But the thing is, he warrants such attention that he was releasing some hand passes and then releasing Limerick lads out. So I know you mightn't see him flying down the pitch solo 150 yards and popping the ball over the bar, but he's able to secure the ball in very tight quarters, break tackles, which were hard tackles, I have to say, and then release off the Collar Neils, release off, even when I don't know who times are, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. So I think today's game was a horse for a course. He was in the battle because those trenches today were very, very tight. You need someone with his tight skill, which he showed on numerous occasions today. He played well today. I know people might say to him he didn't play hectic, but he actually played really well. He was effective. Didn't come away with 6 points or anything, but he did an awful lot of ball when in that area when it was at difficult times, and kept things ticking over at times as well. He got through a fair shift. Now, you ask me his best position. Me personally, I think he'd be excellent at 11. I just think he takes ferocious attention for a 6. It's nearly easier to mark him. I know this might sound a bit ridiculous. It's nearly easier to mark him in a midfield area where you have more personnel around you. But if you occupy him one-on-one versus a 6, that's a tricky proposition, because he can move laterally back forth. So if I had my choice, I put him at 11. But because John Kelly knows that more than I do, so I won't question that.
What do you think, Murph?
No, I'd be the same. I put him at 11. Like, you think back, I'm trying to think what All-Ireland final it was where he just gave that. He was man in the match, I think, the same day, but it was just such a dominant display. And it's that thing of, wasn't that it? It was Cork 21, yeah. He was outstanding that day. And I think Tim O'Mahony was picking him up for quite a bit. Like, there was so much happening today, you were kind of losing track. You weren't following the stories or the little matchups the whole time because they were changing quite a bit. But it seemed to be Tim O'Mahony was kind of following him in around the midfield for quite a bit. He was dropping out. But the thing is that when we've seen Cian Lynch go really well, he's an excellent ball winner and he's great at winning his own balls. But Cork obviously recognised that, lads, we have to draw this into rucks, win the ball in there, commit players to it, and not let Limerick get away with the ball where they can start the attack. And like that's automatically going to stifle Cian Lynch's style of play, because he likes to operate in those areas where he gets a ball, has a look, offloads it, moves on again, and he's great at that. But I think Cork just recognised that, well, if we slow down Cian Lynch here and stop him from operating, well, that's a link-up player. That's like, if a lad's looking at other sports, you're looking at a Paul Scholes there who keeps the whole show on the road, brings other players into the game. Like, if you look yesterday as well, Ryan Taylor, he brought lads into the game. They brought him on. He got 6 possessions, and he starts bringing lads into the game. Mark Rogers, I don't think had scored up to that point, set him up for it. Tony Kelly's last point, actually, I don't know if Ryan Taylor was set up that one, but he set up several scores, several plays. And that's what Cian Lynch does. And I think just Cork went, listen, just shut this fella down. If it means even sacrificing a player to stay next to him, well, let's shut him down. But I don't think today, if you go, it's like saying with Shane O'Donnell yesterday, Cork or Clare started him further out towards centre forward, reverted then to putting him in full forward and got great rewards off it. But against Wexford, wasn't it? Against Wexford, they had him out centre forward and he got on a lot of ball. So I just generally would say that it's horses for courses, that today Cian Lynch might have been suited at X, but the next day it might have been Y. And usually because Limerick are the dominant team, they don't have to think about that. But because Cork got tabs on them today, you now have to think about that. Well, where do we actually move him to get him out of trouble? It's like the Tony Kelly effect with Clare. Where do we get Tony on the most amount of ball where he can have influence? And for me, with Cian Lynch, that is centre forward. It's not midfield.
I saw off the ball producer Mick McCarthy up here somewhere around the start looking for tickets. His first reply was any tickets, lads. A Clare supporter who's going to be chasing a ticket for the final. I want to apologise to his good wife, Sue Murphy, who has basically messaged me during the game and went, I walked into the office the other day, said that Cork were definitely going to win, and I was laughed at in the office. Now, I don't know if I was one of the laughers, but I was definitely one of the 3 people who said, I'm on Skehill's side here. I think this could be a trimming for Cork this weekend. I didn't pay much heed to what Sue was saying. Sue left, and she was very quick to text me at full time to say how right I was. So fair play to Sue Murphy, who I promised I would give a shout out. There's Mick looking for any tickets if possible ahead of the 21st. I'm sure he's probably going to be involved with the roadshow on the 19th at the BG as well. I'm sorry, Sue. I got it wrong. Sorry, Skehill?
I'll get him tickets for the ploughing if he wants.
Does he want tickets for the roadshow or tickets for the match?
I'll get him tickets for the ploughing.
Tickets for the roadshow, you can probably get one at the producer desk. But
there's a heckler in him, so I don't know, should we bring him to the board gosh again? We kept him side stage last year, but if we put him in the crowd, Clare jersey on him, getting ready for an All-Ireland, I don't know. I think he is
he's aggressive enough too, isn't he?
Oh, he's a proud man. We'll put it that way. He's a proud man.
There's energy in him.
Scalehill's going to rile him up now. He'll be in on us.
I'm standing back saying nothing about any of this. By the way, we're going to play a little bit of Pat Ryan here talking about Limerick in a second. But that hurling final preview, which you mentioned, that night is coming up on the 19th. We're pivoting ever so slightly. I think there's probably going to be more Cork and Clare guests than we had initially envisaged, because this group, I think I was going for a Clare and Limerick final. I'm pretty sure Murph was going for a Kilkenny Limerick final. I think Skehill was going for Kilkenny just about against Limerick final. So our plans are up in the air a little bit about some of the guests that we're going to have, but we'll be announcing guests over the next 24 to 48 hours ahead of that. Tickets are already moving nicely for the Borgosh Theatre, so if you can come along, they are pinned in the comments on YouTube right now, the link to Ticketmaster. Here is what Pat Ryan, the Cork manager, had to say about half an hour ago in Croke Park about Limerick and the legacy the Limerick team he's beaten have left. Here's Pat Ryan.
I look delighted. I suppose, first of all, have to pay tribute to Limerick, what champions they've been over the last, whatever it is, since 2018. Do you know what I mean? What they've given to the GA itself, to the Limerick public. Is it 73 they won their last All-Ireland before the lads got involved, and you know what they've achieved, it's absolutely superb. And they've brought the game to a new level, and they're testing all of us to get better and to bring things to a new level and raise standards both on and off the field. And we were lucky to get over the line today. I'll be honest, I didn't have any doubt that we weren't going to perform today, to be honest with you. We could see it in training. Obviously there was a lot made of maybe kind of lacklustre performances against Offaly and Dublin, but from where we came from after losing the first 2 games in the Championship, that took an awful lot of energy, emotional and physical energy, to get over Limerick and Tipperary in those games. There was a lot of preparation needed to get us back into the Championship, and we've driven on from there.
All right, we will jump across the other game in a moment. The only one question I want to throw up, and I knew full well, people want free tickets to the Ploughing Championship when he brought it up. Kieran McCarthy, wasn't Kieran who brought you the biscuits?
No. Was it?
No.
It was.
No, I don't think so.
No,
I think if it was, you most definitely have to
sort them out. Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you.
Jimmy Barry Murphy would be a great shout. We'll be in contact with Cork and Clare people over the next few hours to work that out. Before we jump across to that, just that suggestion that's been made a few times in the comments here, I think I threw them up in the background, this idea that Cork had almost intentionally played with the handbrake down against Offaly or Dublin over the last 3 weekends. I don't believe that for a moment. I think Cork just came to the pitch of the game today, Skehill. I don't think they were hiding anything in that preliminary quarterfinal or quarterfinal.
I don't think so either. I just think they, I just think there was, how to put this now, an element of now or never, really. I mean, in the best way I possibly can. Cork bet what was in front of them. I think we're forgetting about that too. We keep envisaging Cork, let's say, executing against Limerick in a semi-final or playing in the final, having to play at their absolute peak. But then we do understand that they also bet Offaly and Dublin in kind of a canter as well. We expected them to obliterate them, and then we kind of went at them a small bit for not doing so. But look at it in hindsight, and you say hindsight vision is 2020, but they got the job done, did what needed to be done. And even as Pat Ryan was talking, it was interesting there. I remember him speaking after the Offaly game, and he was hiding his disgust with the way they're playing. So I can imagine over the last number of weeks that he's been prepping and getting these guys ready. So, and they came out ready today. So kudos to them, as I always say.
Yeah. All right. Let's have a chat about the other game. So, Murph, there's plenty of people having pelters at Kilkenny here, particularly the way that the last 25 minutes of the game went. I kind of mentioned at the start, 12 points to 4. They're outscored by Clare after Ryan gets the second goal. and the fact that the last 6 points of the game, we're very quick to criticise teams when they allow a team to get a run in you. For Clare to hit the last 6, after really the first half performance for Kilkenny should have had Clare beaten by half time. We'll talk about Ivor Quilligan and some of the good saves he made. But what went wrong for Kilkenny, Murph?
Yeah, look, it was just the energy in the last 20 minutes or so. Like, there's a lot of kind of stats.
Bullshit.
What?
What do you...
What do you want to put it down to? I was going to say Clare have a higher energy.
Essay wrote here, Murph, as to what went wrong, right? So go on, you work away there.
Yeah, so I was going to say, essentially, get to that Clare are the better team in the last half an hour. Like, for all the hurling that was done in the first half, when Ryan Taylor came on, they got a bit more traction. Like, I was looking, I had Clare down for maybe, was it 3 scores or so in the first half? They just weren't functioning. They moved Shane O'Donnell in full forward. Ryan Taylor comes on, picks up an ocean of ball. Ian Galvin comes on and starts just making those darting runs that starts creating space as well. They just started to click. David McInerney was immense as well. But for me, it just, whatever it was, after Billy Ryan's goal, from then on, Clare strung together a few scores and started to get a bit of momentum. And for all the hurling that Kilkenny had done, you kind of went, God, geez, Clare are only 3 points behind now. And once they got that kind of back to 2, back to 1, suddenly you just felt the momentum was completely with Clare. And then when you saw who was coming into the game then, Tony Kelly, I had it down that he hadn't held the ball till about the 47th minute, and he got 3 scores by the end of the game with that. When Tony Kelly gets a score, it's nearly worth 2 points on the board. And they started getting really good ball in. Like, Shane O'Donnell was picking up ball. They managed to create that space in front of the Kilkenny full back line, drew out the Kilkenny halfbacks, and were actually getting really good ball in. And the Clare full forwards were coming out, winning that ball, making it stick, and more often than not converting it into a score. And Kilkenny just couldn't stop that momentum. They couldn't stop Clare moving it on the scoreboard like that. Aidan McCarthy as well deserves credit. Like, sometimes this year, the Clare frees weren't working out. You know, they're moving around, different players were taking them. Rogers was on them. They're moving around the different lads. McCarthy's free, and the one under the Cusick stand there, like, really important free when he got that one. And even you look at Tony Kelly's last score there, like, the last man to score, big score, lifted the whole place. But I just felt that once Clare started to click, which they didn't do in the first half, once they got that bit of momentum in the second half, they kind of just got into a groove, and they're like, yeah, we can do this here now. For all the 35 minutes that we didn't hurl, we're actually starting to click here now, and, you know, we're in striking distance. And I think once they got a smell of blood, they just kept going. Like, there's lots of things you can point to with Kilkenny as well, where you can say the last 20 minutes or 25 minutes, they got 4 scores maybe in the last 25 minutes. They didn't score from the 57th minute, I think, on.
TJ missed his last 3 frees.
2 frees, yeah.
I think, you know, you could say the one underneath the Cusick stand, it was a long way out. I don't think you'd give out, like, to Diarmaid Burns or anyone for missing that. TJ be disappointed with one out of the Hogan stand side on the 45, but Aaron Gillane missed one exactly there today as well, except it was just during the middle of the game, so you don't really notice it. I think the win and losing of the game wasn't in the freeze. It was more so in, you know, Kilkenny were in a dominant position when Billy Ryan gets the goal, 6 points up. It's a case now of working that scoreboard, keeping the tempo up, getting maybe a few lads in onto the field and keeping the energy going. But, you know, Clare just responded, and they hit Kilkenny with something they weren't expecting. And look, they just fully deserve it. But I'm open now for Skehill to see, well, did I go against what Skehill was thinking? Or
Transit Van is trying to argue too much waffling going on. Happened just about that point. Appears to be a Roscommon supporter there.
In reference to what?
Skehill had a sheet, so the floor is your ability.
Hang on, Transit Van, what are you talking about? I mean,
I presume he means Murph is trying to cover for Kilkenny here, but
you've got what did we say there that was in any way covered for Kilkenny?
That's right, no. But Skehill has a whole sheet here, so I'm intrigued.
No, I tell you, look, come here. Obviously, look, it's very easy for me to go along and look at the point the last X amount of minutes where we draw. Clare completely took over, but Murph, I have an issue before, right, with Kilkenny centre back, right, and I've issue with the way you play the ball out in the last 20 minutes, right. It was absolutely criminal. Where Kilkenny set up, let's say, with 4 in the full back line, 4 in the half back line at times, play a short ball, and then it's delivered long. So, like, even 8 inside your 50-yard line, include the goalkeeper 9. You have 6 players in to go from your 50 to the end line. You deliver a long ball down to 2v1 on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 occasions. A long ball down to a 2v1, where Clare didn't get 6 points out of it. I mean, that was, I just couldn't. I'm watching in real time going, they're not going to keep up betting this ball. So, what needs to happen? Even after the great save, Murphy makes a great save. You win a free. All Murphy's doing after that, right? There's a lovely pass to give to Blanchfield. Blanchfield is in an acre of space by himself in the middle of the pitch, right? Pumps it long, turnover, point. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. They did start striking that long ball when they're under pressure, yeah.
And I want to ask you a question. Is that because, and I'm only asking the question now, is that because when Wally came on, right, they go, right, we've got a long ball target now. You know what I mean?
No, I don't think so. Like,
Maybe
I mean,
not. Maybe not. But
you can look at different examples. Like, I mean, we spoke about when they played, when Wexford beat them in Nolan Park. Was it last year during the round robin? I think it was. Or no, that wasn't. They played them in Wexford Park last year. But anyway, 2 years ago in Nolan Park, the Kilkenny were criticised for striking a lot of long ball. And it's kind of been a thing that when Kilkenny are under pressure, and I include that in teams I've been involved in, that sometimes reverting to that long ball and teams are sitting back that little bit further and you get stuck in the rut of you're after striking a few long balls now, you're handing the incentive to the other team.
Yes.
And I'd agree with you. I did see that yesterday from Kilkenny where they struck the long ball where you're going, oh, geez, carry this up the field a small bit further and draw out the Clare backs. But when David McInerney and these boys were on form on the far end, and even John Conlon came out and won a ball in front of TJ, that long ball just wasn't working. And I'd agree with you. The ability to revert away from that in the last 15 minutes or so, yeah, it was a downfall for Kilkenny.
We've been talking about Clare, let's say, if you have a numerical disadvantage against them in the middle, you're in ferocious trouble because what they have is extreme pace. And you've introduced Ryan Taylor, comes on with 20 minutes to go. You give him the option, right, of taking on you in the middle third when you've got two extra defenders at the back. There was numerous instances where we saw David Blanchfield and even Mikey Butler at times free in their defence. You know what I mean? When there wasn't a huge concern about a goal because they were getting picked off point by point by point. You know what I mean? So I thought it was crying out for, even on the puck house, Blanchfield, he was occupying sometimes where we see Byrne on the 30-yard line, if you know what I mean, sideline. Up the field, up the fuck. Do you know what I mean? Shove it up and get numerical parity up the middle, because all the balls that was going down, and you're an asshole if you look at Owen Cody and go, right, he's losing one-to-ones. He was under ferocious pressure because there was always 2v1. It was either Conlon and Hogan on Cody, or it was either Ryan and you know what I mean, Lean on the likes of Mossy, etc. They just couldn't get good delivery. And that was different in the first half because the breeze was allowing the long ball to go in deeper. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Whereas when they go against the breeze, they had to carry it up. And especially when in the middle in the options, where I saw numerous instances whereby it was crying out for someone like Kilkenny, come and get it. Just come and get it. Deegan, come and get it. And then you can go over. And some of the shots in were criminal. It just saps the life out of Kilkenny. So I'm looking at the last 20 minutes. They're 6 points up. Just close it out now. Manage the game. You know, I thought they'd pull out the likes of, you know, leave one up top, pull out, and then start shooting from distance. But they kept, you know, Mullen was completely out of it, I thought. You know, I thought they should have moved him around a bit. Put him in at 11, put him at 14, get him in the game because he wasn't in it at all. But I thought their tactical setup with 20 minutes to go was a huge downfall, I'm afraid to say. And they couldn't get their big players in games. And their shot selection, Deegan's shot, Blanchfield's shot, TJ's 3 frees. Do you know what I mean? Just, they were kind of very difficult. The execution level was very, very, you know, difficult, the degree of difficulty. So, but that's because they just couldn't work it because they hadn't got the numbers. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So there's a bit, in fairness, I have to say, and I'm never critical really of Kilkenny's tactical setup. I'm always in favour of it. But I think when Derek Lean looks back at this game, he'll go, fuck, we should have moved a couple of the pieces around and get numerical parity in the middle, especially. Yeah,
I think a key point made by John Darcy there as well. Kilkenny got no kick from their subs compared to Clare at all. Ryan Taylor made a big difference when he came on. And the other thing, Murph, was that Kilkenny waited quite late to make subs, didn't they? Like, I think Wally came on, about 10 minutes to go, give or take? It was certainly by comparison, Clare were... I know Brian Lohan said in the telly afterwards he could have taken 6 or 7 players off at half time, but he kind of backed them to go out and play well in the second half. And then when he felt he had to make changes, like, it's a big enough call. I know he's watching Taylor in training, so he knows where he's at. But it's his first action in a year, nearly to the day since he got injured last year against Kilkenny. To put him in and for him to be so crucial, like, they got something from their bench that really Kilkenny didn't. I think the first ball that came to Wally, he dropped it. And I don't know if any of the other subs had any major impact in the last 10 minutes, really.
Yeah, it was late enough. I suppose I think Tom Phelan was the first sub that came on for Mossy. I think that was the first one. But it was the impact of the bench was huge, and it was just clear to see that, like we mentioned him already. Like, I mean, Ryan Taylor really was. I suppose you just call him the man that turned the game. Like, if Eibhear Quilligan was the man who kept Clare in the game, Ryan Taylor was the man who actually just linked it all together. And that was the one thing that just resounded for me from yesterday, was that like when they seemed disjointed in the forward line, Ryan Taylor comes in and it just made them all click. Whatever he brought to it, whatever way he reads the game, he brought players into the game with him. And I was looking at lads there and I was saying, you know, there's lads here. Mark Rogers wasn't savagely involved, let's say in terms of hitting the scoreboard till that stage. Tony Kelly, I can't remember when he got his first score, but it was in around the time Ryan Taylor comes on, and players just started to come into the game. And if you look at Ian Galvin as well, like Ian Galvin was a nuisance when he came on, got a great score as well, but was making the runs. And like that's the thing, you don't necessarily have to be on the ball to have an influence on the game. The runs that you make and create space for the other lads can have a huge influence on the game. And I agree with you. Clare's bench that came on, they did hit the ground running, and they were excellent. It was excellent. And it worked out. And I would even say, if you actually go back last year, it went the other way, where Derek Ling brought on Keane Kenny into the game, and Keane Kenny popped up at 1 or 2 points and linked up a few things. Kilkenny's bench last year had an effect, but it was Clare's bench this year that won that battle of having the impact.
What happened in the first half, Murph, that the clinical edge wasn't there? Because I want Skehill to give Quilligan his flowers now in a moment, but Kilkenny had so many more chances. Like that, they should have been miles ahead. It's weird even compared to last year, where I think 5 points was also the deficit at halftime last year, but this time it felt like Kilkenny should have been way further ahead at halftime, but left chances behind. Where were the goal chances? Also shots as well.
Yeah.
Where was the clinical edge that we would have been expecting out of them?
Yeah, I suppose there was 1 or 2. Mikey Carey's one where he went through. I think what happened with Mikey Carey was that when he carried the ball in towards Quilligan, he went around the last tackle. He kind of came back across himself and was he was coming back across the ball in an awkward way where he couldn't just drive it into the ground, and he kept it at a right height. Like Quilligan just kind of stayed up, hit his knee and went out. The one then for Cian Kenny was probably right to go for a shot there, but maybe bounce it into the ground. This was a few things that I saw with a few of the saves, is that it was the bouncing it into the ground where, again, you're just going to create that extra chance that the keeper mightn't get to it. But after Cian Kenny took the shot, it came out to Adrian Mullen. Adrian Mullen probably should have just popped it over the bar there. Easy for me to say it now, but, usually after a good save from a keeper like that, if the ball bounces out, 20 yards, get it, pop it over the bar, take your score and move on. But it was kind of going back, and that kind of fed back a bit of momentum into maybe Quilligan. But like you even looked at, there was another save he made there. Now the ball in hindsight might have been going wide, it's hard to know, but the sideline that just came through when Clare were a little bit jittery in the first half, it came through a crowd of players. Quilligan makes a great save. And Clare get the ball out of trouble. But I think just Kilkenny's they were making great runs. Like Mikey Carey, when he went through for that run, the run was excellent. Just the finishing wasn't there. And maybe that's part of being a half back or whatever it is. You're not in front of goal that much. But look, Kilkenny were creating the opportunities. But even in the second half, like you could say, look, if they got one of those or got two of those, they were out of sight. Kilkenny were out of sight to an extent when Billy Ryan got his goal anyway. So it's easy to look back and go into the first half and say, well, if they got one of those goals, they would have beaten Clare. I don't know. Like, I think Clare might still come back. It might have been the kick in the arse Clare would have needed. The game pans out a little bit differently if Kilkenny scores that. But I think the bottom line is you have to look at, once Billy Ryan gets his goal, Kilkenny are 6 points up. That's the place to kick on from there. And whatever about you missed previously in the first half, you were in a place that you could actually go and win the game. So I don't think you could ruin the missed chances, fine. But you were nevertheless in the second half still in a position to go and win it. So I don't think you can dwell on them a whole lot.
Yeah, good point as well about Ian Galvin. Obviously, a lot of people bringing up the Clare defence, which we'll talk about in a second. But just wanted to talk about Quilligan a bit, because we talked about him on the members pod last week, Skehill, and you were assessing the 4 goalkeepers, and you were talking about his performances overall, what you thought about him this year. He really came up when he was needed for Clare at the weekend.
Yeah, like I feel like I've been in his corner a bit. I think he's probably taken a bit of flack sometimes that probably was maybe undeserving to the levels he's received. I just think people were very quick to jump on him. There was even people, I'd say locally as well, and if not nationally, wondering would he going to get replaced. And I was genuinely like really, happy for him that he could show his qualities. Like, he was excellent. And in fairness to him, I know we look at Kilkenny and the cynicalness would say, oh, it was bad shots, but they were great saves. Like, even the one from the sideline, that's a great reactive save. It's really, really important. We've seen time and time again those shots have actually just gone in. You know what I mean? So I think in that type of game where Kilkenny were having a run on Clare, and it could potentially, if those goals go in, the game gets away from them. You might have a repeat of 2022. Who knows? Do you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, it didn't happen. And his shot stopping was excellent. His distribution in the second half, particularly in the last half an hour, I thought was really excellent. It allowed, especially his midfield players and the likes of Duggan, come into the game. Like Duggan, we should touch on him too. But allowed his outfield players to come into the game because his distribution was so effective in front. So there was no real 50-50 ball delivered down. So all elements of the game. And look, the one where the goal, that was kind of just a bad part. You know what I mean? That happens there, every player saw. But I think overall, if you were to assess his performance from top to bottom, I thought he was top class.
Yeah. The defenders then, because I was chatting to our good friend Podge Collins on Friday, and he was talking about the important role that McInerney may well have to play within the game, and he was expecting him to kind of go out around Mullen territory, Murph. But across the board, we've had a few doubts collectively. about Clare at times, particularly about their full back line, and people have talked about their half back line a bit this year. That Clare defence, especially second half, and Hogan did a really good job on Cody to annoy him and to wind him up throughout the game, and then second half tied him up quite well. I have to give a lot of credit to the way that Clare defended too.
Yeah, they defended really well, and for me, between Adam Hogan and McInerney, they were really the big influences there. Like McInerney, we've seen him in several games now that he seems to be the go-to man in that defence, that if they want to shut down one of the half-backs, like against Wexford, McInerney went on lead chin and caught 2 great balls over him. Like McInerney has that great ability that he can, it's not just a case he's going cancelling a lad, he can go and hurl him. And you know, and he was, for what I saw yesterday, he followed Adrian Mullen, I think it was, for quite a bit of the game, and had real big impact on the game. And the defence, yeah, like there was times there that I looked and I saw that John Conlon didn't want to stay on John Donnelly to an extent where he was giving him that space, but Kilkenny didn't identify that John Donnelly was free a lot of the time to actually give him the ball. Now, I would say if that was Cork in that position, and let's say John Conlon was on Declan Dalton, I think Cork, from what we saw today, have the ability to actually pick that out. So that'll be something that I think Cork will look at, to say John Conlon does want to sit on that D and maybe doesn't want to. There's questions can be asked there. So will he come and step up? So let's ask those questions. But Kilkenny, I could see John Donnelly was trying to step out, but Kilkenny just weren't picking up that ball. And it goes back to probably what you were saying, Skehill, that they could have carried that bit further up, and Kenny might have carried it and maybe brought it onto the half-hour line, but they were striking it long. But there was lads presenting themselves for it. But no, in fairness to the Clare backs, you know, they were really good. They were tigerish. Like Adam Hogan won a lot of ball. Granted, you know, outstanding goal from Owen Cody, absolutely. But Adam Hogan won a great amount of ball, in fairness to him. And like, yeah, as a unit, as a whole unit, to be fair to them, you know, in the second half in particular, because you have to say in the first half, they were actually caught flat-footed at times, that a lot of direct running through the middle. One direct run broke the line and Kilkenny were actually through, but they got to grips with it in the second half. And I think what helped as well was that midfield sat back a little bit more while Kilkenny were on the attack, and it allowed a kind of an added dimension of safety for the half back line. But to be fair to the Clare defence, they were really good yesterday, and I would say particularly in the second half. First half there was opportunities, but the second half they were good.
River Power bringing up the Cody celebration. The Cody goal was insane, by the way. You can argue the toss over some of the steps, but the Wimbledon style finish, the overhead serve into the bottom corner, was an incredible piece of ingenuity by Cody to put the ball into the net. But River Power raised the point here, Skell. Do you think Cody might regret the jawing he did to Hogan after the goal? Hogan put him in his pocket after that.
Maybe I interpreted this situation a bit differently. I thought that was just good, friendly. I won't say friendly, but good competitive banter back and forth. Is it no?
No, before that, Cody hit a
bear in mind, as I watched the game, right, in my 3-year-old's birthday party was on, so I watched it on a tablet with 50 kids around me. So maybe I missed a few details, okay? So tell me what happened.
Just before it, on Cody, I think, hit a wide. I can't remember if it went to Hawkeye or not, but Adam Hogan went running up to him and kind of said something to him. You could see it. Like, you could see that it was something that they had in the thing that day, in the battle that day. They were obviously saying a few words to each other, but it was about 3 minutes before that, 2 or 3 minutes before Cody hits a wide and he runs up to him. So you can see then once Cody gets the goal, he goes, actually, where's Adam Hogan? And I run back.
Sure, did he owe him on then? Like, did he owe him on?
He owed him on. He owed him on.
Okay,
that was what it was. It was kind of, it seemed to be that he was owing him one back. But it went on for the day that the two of them were kind of having a few words with each other, like, you know. But no, I don't think it was a friendly chat.
Okay, I'll take that one back. So
yep, completely forgiven.
Can I just cut something off here now? Because there's a few kind of, you know, lads who are obviously trying to have a troll or a push in the comments here who are like, sure, if Skehill knows it all, he should take over Galway. Like, just because Skehill is not managing Galway doesn't mean he can't have an opinion on games that are taking place. I always find this really, really bizarre when people say stuff like that. But there you go.
Yeah, but sure, look, come here. I always say, Will, what do you expect from a pig with a grunt? What do you mean? Like, you'll get that.
It is one of your favourites, admittedly. Murph, understandably, this was coming, so you should be well prepared for this one, which is what happens with Derek.
Thomas Hayes, you flag his comment there, yeah.
I'll come back to it in a second. Jack Henley first. Question for Murph. This is Derek Ling's second year. He was given 2 years with an option for a third in 2022. Do you think he stays for another year?
Definitely.
Yeah. No, he will, yeah. See, I think the important thing that, like, often we talk about managers with, we talk about management about, usually when managements fail, let's say, and this is not, I'm not referring to the Kilkenny setup or anything like that, but usually when we talk about managers moving on, people are talking about bringing in younger players and bringing in the youth, and, you know, we need to bring in, freshen up. Derek Ling managed the under-20s a few years ago to the All-Ireland, and he brought through quite a few of those players. Granted, you know, there may be players that will move on from here, but like, Derek's tenure has been really good. You know, I as a Kilkenny supporter, I've been, you know, really happy with, you know, the expectation level of what Kilkenny can get to competing against the likes of Limerick and Clare's and Cork's. But Derek Lyng has done a really good job. And as a Kilkenny supporter, this is not me saying it as a pundit, this is me saying it as a Kilkenny supporter, I'm really happy with what Derek Lyng and Peter Barry and the whole backroom team, Michael Rice and all of them have done. There was a fine amount in that game yesterday where we're talking about, you know, a Kilkenny Cork final or whatever. There was margins there. Kilkenny just weren't good enough yesterday. Clare bet them. But I wouldn't look at it and go, no, we need to move on. We need to freshen it up. Derek Lyng has been really good for Kilkenny. And I know that the buyback from the players has been there as well. So, no, I think if Derek, and the other thing I will say is that it's an arduous job. I've learned more in the last 2 years about how much these inter-county managers are putting into it. If Derek wants to do it again, absolutely. And I don't think that's not even a question being asked in Kilkenny at the moment.
Yeah. Okie dokie. A few other bits and pieces, I guess, before we finish up. Also, Thomas FM making the point there that McInerney got an All-Star full-back back in 2013. We're going to have lots of these. I would say there's going to be some players who were on both teams in 2013 who are going to be getting calls for preview chats ahead of the next 2 weeks of probably having very little to talk about, but wanting to build up this final and coming back through. Obviously, a lot of people have brought up about TJ. So I see Kevin Ford has got here, was yesterday TJ's swan song, and Tom, who's got his Clare avatar. Great to see TJ with his daughter yesterday in probably his last day as a KK shirt, a legend of the game. You said that you hope not, Skehill.
No, I hope not.
I kind of thought the final scenes looked a bit like, understandably, he's disappointed after losing All-Ireland semi-final anyway, but I thought having his partner and his daughter on the pitch with him, the fact that he hung around that bit more, then understandably the photo that gets taken that was in a lot of the newspapers today was TJ kind of walking down the tunnel on his own into the Hogan stand yesterday. So that kind of narrative is picked up around, well, look, maybe he's given everything he can give. He's 37 years of age. Maybe he decides that's the end of it. You're hoping that he's not going to hang up his boots.
You see, I sometimes I hope players do hang up the boots when the performance is in steady decline. You know, like you nearly kind of feel sorry for them to a degree, where you're saying, okay, now it's time to go. Don't tarnish your reputation. But I don't feel that with TJ. I still think he's performing very well. You know what I mean? I still think he's a great ball winner, deadly at the dead balls. A couple went astray yesterday, but they're extremely difficult. Unreal shooter, and I imagine he's a great leader. So I don't think there's evidence there to say that he needs to retire. Like, again, Murphy, you might correct me here, but like his personal life and professional life are manageable, if you know what I'm saying. To a sense that he doesn't have to leave the inter-county scene. So I think we'll probably see him next year. I hope we see him. He might have decided himself already that this is enough, you know, but I don't see his performance decline to a level whereby he has to go. I don't think Derek Lyng is going to ask him to go. You know, I don't think Derek Lyng is going to replace him anytime soon. He's still one of the first names in the team sheet. So, yeah, I hope to see him next year.
Yeah, I do like some of the suggestions for the final here. One is it's like a fridge on a Wednesday, nothing going to be in it. And the other one, which Skehill wanted me to pull up, and it was like trying to call a deaf dog, it's hard to call. That's
a brilliant one, though. I need to store that one in my head.
That is good. That is good.
Before we wrap up, because I see Enda's got a question which inevitably goes to this point: who's your hurler and young hurler of the year before the final even comes around? Murph, how do you see the final going between these two teams? Preview next week. Don't give too much.
Yeah, we'll do a big preview. Look, I mean, at the moment, early doors, like you have to, and this will suit Clare. You'll have to tip the scales towards Cork. Any team that dethrones Limerick under merit, like Limerick didn't have an off day. It was, you know, Cork had a great day. I think you automatically can take the mantle that, you know, you've now gotten over the big hurdle that is Limerick, and they've done it twice this year. You know, in the championship, you can say whatever you want, but the first one they picked them at the post, but automatically that'll go to Cork. So Pat Ryan now, we've spoken about Pat Ryan has been managing that team in terms of, we've seen him basically give the proverbial kick up the arse after Offaly, after Dublin. He was quite vocal about that, being interviewed afterwards. But I think now he'll be going, listen lads, every lad in Cork that you meet now is going to be wanting to patting you on the back. And 8 weeks ago, before we bet Limerick, these were the lads that were giving out about you, probably looking for Pat Ryan's head as well, which was unfair at the time. But how differently the landscape has changed in 8 weeks. So I think Pat Ryan will be saying, listen lads, it's us. We went out and we won that game. It's about what's happening inside in this dressing room. We have 2 weeks to prepare. Let's prepare. On the Clare end, you know, Brian Lohan will be delighted. And what we saw yesterday from Brian Lohan is that used the bench really well, wasn't afraid to get Ryan Taylor into the game, wasn't afraid to make tough decisions, got in there and are as well there on merit. Completely agree. It's going to be so tough to call. I know we'll do a big preview on it next week, but I think it's the final that this is no shade. Look, I have skin in the game, Kilkenny as well as Limerick, but this is probably a final that a lot of people, neutrals, wanted. To Clare and Cork into the final. There's a lot of goodwill there for both teams. Both have had a few down years where they weren't overly competing at times. They've also had their days of losing Munster finals and maybe not making it out of Munster. So, look, it's teed up nicely. It's teed up really well, and it's going to be a really tough one to call. But you'd have to say at the moment, Cork marginal at the moment because they beat Limerick.
Yeah, I mean, again, Clare, like Stockton Tim has pointed out, that when Cork needed a win, Clare were able to beat them earlier this season. That game was a thriller. I'd love if it was something close to that. For you, Skehill, who would your winner be this far out?
That's such a hard one to call, Will, to be honest.
Well, in fairness, you knew that was coming. He's only just after.
No, I do know. Of course I know it's coming. And, everything we do is we try to take an evidence-based approach. So looking at what Cork produced and what Clare produced, you'd have to tip the scale towards Cork. Yeah, but Clare, I still think Clare are seasoned, hardened, have really good bench, as do Cork as well. It's finely balanced, and whatever way we tip the scale is going to be by a gram of rice. That's all it is in it. It's it could be a point to Clare, a point to Cork. I genuinely don't know. But you say after today, maybe it's because it's just the recency of it that Cork, what they produced today, was just out of this world. And let's go for them.
Yeah. Anyone who's going back and forth here, red hot favourites, not red hot favourites, like guys are trying to convince each other that they're the underdogs going into this.
I don't believe there's
red hot favourites either side for this.
I think it's even money either way, if you ask me.
Poor old Crack of the Ash is the kind of the figure who's been in the comments throughout, with everyone wondering where he is now at this stage. This is what happens, I suppose, when you give it out throughout the season. People are going to be there waiting for you.
You have to come back and take it.
Now, the only thing I will say is they said that the final would be Limerick and Clare, and they tweeted me yesterday because I put up a picture of Shaquille O'Neal hiding behind a tree.
Yeah,
you're just watching the tweet, and they retweeted it and did hi and a wavy face, and I was like, I'm not going to retweet it again and do a hi and a wavy face back to them this evening, because I said there'll be enough people jumping on the Limerick bandwagon today.
I'd have straight in gone back with it. Straight in.
I don't fairness to them, like whoever these Crack of the Ash boys are, they've been good interactors on this as well. But there was always going to be a day where the people in the comments on the right here now and the people that have seen them were going to have their day. We just weren't expecting it was going to be today, probably, But a few licking in the wounds now for Crack of the Ash. But look, they'll be all right.
I think Carl's right, by the way, in Adam Hogan, where he says he's a man who draws frees, grab hands, hurleys. Honestly, a bit of a joke, but you need that in a cornerback. And look, I think it's up to other people to stop him, Murph, when it comes to this, because people are complaining all the time that, he goes in low and he wins frees and then he'll fist bump afterwards and so on. If everyone is so aware of his antics or his tactics with the way that he wins frees and so on, well, then surely every player who's up against him should know how to stop that.
Well, it's not even a case of every player needs to stop it. It's kind of just a case of referees tweaking it. We actually had the conversation. Myself, Ozzy and Neil were just talking about it. And we pointed to players that we would have played with or against that kind of had that in their game. And there's quite a few players, across the board that have their own technique of maybe drawing a free. But he does. Like even the last one he came out with there yesterday, look, again, it was probably just on the softer side. But he I suppose, made the referee make a decision as well. But look, he gets the frees. Clare will be happy that he is getting them as well. He does a savage amount of great defending. He was really good yesterday, and a man not too far away from winning man the match. But there was a few elements as well of where he's able to draw the free. And look, until a referee kind of maybe just cops it and maybe just clamps down on it a small bit more, I'm sure he'll get whatever he can from it.
Suggestions there as well. A statement might well be coming from Crack of the Ash later on. Sure, we shall see where it goes. Skehill, your hurler of the year, young hurler of the year. We get asked this so often, but why not do one with only a game to go? And so people can go back and say, you've already said Shane O'Donnell, you've already said Kyle Hayes, you've already said David Fitzgerald at some point. Who's your hurler of the year right now?
I'd have to put Shane O'Donnell on top of the list at the moment. I think he's been, over the whole course of the championship, he's been the most consistent performer, really. I had Dickie Quaid in the shout as well. And he was, again, but just being in reality, the fact that O'Donnell goes to the final, he's going to take a step ahead of Quaid or any other Limerick player, mind you. So I'm going to tip O'Donnell for hurler of the year. Not even tip. I actually think it's pretty much guaranteed at this stage.
Okay, Murph, who do you like?
Shane O'Donnell for me at the moment. And again, there's been lots of lads that have at different stages have put their hand up, but for me, Shane O'Donnell is the man out in front at the moment. Did you pick a young hurler of the year there, Skehill? No.
I didn't. That's one that I need to put more thought into, to be honest. I need
Would
to
it
bring
be
the rules a bit there.
probably Adam Hogan at the moment? Would it be? I'm looking at lads' ages here and stuff as well. I'm looking through the Cork team.
It's always in February, Murphy. It was always under 21, wasn't it? It was always someone under 21.
It's 22 now. It used to be 21.
I'm like, who's
It's
that
22.
category? Yeah.
Adam Hogan's 21, so I presume
I should know this, but what age is Connolly?
Alan Connolly.
Yeah.
I'm not sure now.
At that age, I don't think he was under 20 the year before last. I could be wrong though.
I'll check here now. Alan Connolly. He's 22, so he's eligible. Yep.
Ooh.
Well, actually, sorry, he's 23 now. In July 19th.
He's out. So
the only question about
himself and Harnley might have a joint birthday.
Yeah, the only question about Connolly might well be the 2 games. I know he was sick for the Dublin game, but
he got his first score in 3 matches today. Today, the first score he got, that was the first score. Oh, he did, yeah. No, he's really good.
Okay. Yeah, I think Hogan wins Young Hurler of the Year. I really do. You've got Connolly's 22. We've wonderful fact checkers here in the background as well. Lean is 22 as well. I think Lean has been very good in that defence this season too. So, yeah, I think we're looking at that. Again, by all means, debate that out. Alan Connolly is 22 years of age as of today. So he's probably got a shout. Paul Tierney, I'd take that if we've another replay just like 2013, which would be very, very good. A lot of people are putting up Shane Barrett for Hurler of the Year. So it's kind of a snap poll now at the moment we almost have among the comments so far. Lean wasn't great yesterday, Marcus reckons, but there we go. Right, lads, I think that's probably where we leave it for this week. 2 differing quality semi-finals, I would say. Skehill overall today was better than yesterday, but an entertaining couple of days hurling overall.
I think it was a very good weekend. I think it was a great, I think a great kind of couple of games for people who had no skin in the game, neutrals, like that, to get 2 very contrasting styles of games, mind you. One was kind of looked very tactical, if you like, but today it was just an all-out, how do I say, go at it game. And we love them games because they're the games I grew up on in the late 90s or 2000s, where teams just, there wasn't a major tactical approach. There was just go at it 15 and 15, and that's the way today felt. So nearly brought back days of my youth.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone is going to debate why this has not worked out. Well, again, he was a man we were looking at last year, Carl O'Neill, who's been very good out in the middle of the field for Limerick this year as well. So, and Darragh Fitzgibbon, definitely a shout. I see a few people put up for Hurler here as well. He's been class throughout the championship. I think he's got a real shout. The Caroline Curad thing is going to come up continually as well. I pointed out the Nash thing. This was the first knockout championship game that Nash hadn't started since the 2019 semi-final defeat against Kilkenny. For anyone who chimed back in on that, I wasn't claiming that was the reason that Limerick lost. I think Nash was missed to an extent, but it wasn't the reason they lost. But the Caroline Curad one is interesting, where she was there from 19 on and is now gone. So I'm sure, look, everyone is going to pick through why they think that Limerick have lost and what's happened with Limerick. So, look, can't wait for the final. It's going to be great. Keep an eye out if you're thinking to come along to the Bord Gáis Energy Theatre on the 19th. You can talk to Skehill at a wedding if you come along. I promise we'll try and do that. Don't know if the technology will allow it, but we'll try. You'll get Paul Murphy there. Paul, it's been a pleasure as well. Thanks a million.
Thanks very much, lads.
And James Skehill, we'll see you again next week for the All-Ireland final preview as well.
Cool. See you guys.
Thank you for everyone who has joined in on the live chat as well. If you could give us a like on the way out, that'd be great. We will be back with you next weekend. And if you're an OTB member, we're going to do a members pod probably not too long after this, so that should be out tomorrow afternoon as well. So you've got that to look forward to if you're an OTB member. Loads of hurling content to come over the next 2 weeks as well. It's well worth signing up. Thanks a million for joining us for the live. See you soon.
OTB's The Hurling Pod.
With Bord Gáis Energy.
Proud sponsors of the Senior Hurling Championship.